Hello students, welcome to our discussion of Chapter 11, Global Strategies. There is some information at the end of this chapter that is and has commonly been used as really good short answer type questions. So we'll get into that throughout this chapter. So this chapter starts off with opening case about a company that is adapting to various unique tastes and preferences of local consumers. Case dealing with IKEA, and every time I think of IKEA, some of you may love it, some of you may not like it. Others, like me, have a total fear for all things IKEA. So here's a little. It's IKEA, in case you're wondering. Where's the door? I want out. IKEA phobia. So yeah, funny little video. Thought I'd show you that as a little intro into a company. As the case points out, they have done a really great job of adapting to the tastes and preferences of local consumers. So focus on this chapter is the organization of the firm and the actions of managers that they can take to compete more effectively. We're going to discuss different strategies that firms can use to compete successfully in the international marketplace, and that becomes the primary focus on this chapter, and something that you'll need to understand for the final exam. So this chapter starts off with some really basic definitions of profit and profitability. There are going to be no calculations required on this test. This is really basic accounting stuff. So we're going to stay away from that. Just understand that strategies are those actions managers take to achieve their goals. Value creation. They really try to overcomplicate this whole value creation thing. Is basically each entity or firm in an industry or in a supply chain, they need to add value to the goods and services. So we're not going to worry about all those V's and P's and C's and whatnot. Two basic conditions determine a firm's profits. Basically, the amount of value customers place in the firm's goods or services. Sometimes referred to as that perceived value. So as long as you're adding some perceived value, then of course you can charge more and you're going to increase your profits. Or the firm's cost of production. The lower your cost of production, the more profit, more profitability you can achieve. Of course, the more value customers place on that firm's products, the higher the price the firm can charge for those products. So that's one of the conditions. This gets into what you may remember from macroeconomics or the microeconomics, the consumer surplus. From here, this whole value creation entity or process, just understand that competition lowers price. Strategy that focuses on lowering costs, would be referred to as that low cost structure, or low cost strategy, I should say. And competition that focuses on increasing the attractiveness of a product would be that differentiation strategy. So low cost and differentiation are the two basic elements or strategies for creating value, and those two entities, the pressures for maintaining cost, pressures for achieving a low cost, or pressures for differentiating your product become the matrix, as you will, for the 4 international strategies that we'll talk about later on in this chapter. So those two strategies play a significant role in the 4 different international strategies that firms need to decide on if they want to compete internationally and successfully. The firm as a value chain. Useful to think of a firm as a value chain composed of a series of distinct value creation activities, including production, marketing, and sales, materials management, so supply chain management, research and development, human resources, information systems, and the firm infrastructure. So we categorize those 2 ways, basically, as primary activities and support activities. So this part would be important to know for some multiple choice type questions. You probably have taken elements of this before in other classes, basically understanding what is the primary activity of a firm and what is a support activity of a firm. And it's always interesting to see examples of businesses or firms where their support activities try to promote itself as a primary activity, and just the complications and the inefficiencies that result from that. So research and development, production, marketing, sales, service, after sales service would be the primary activities, and those others would be the support activities. Primary activities, as it says there, have to do with the design, creation, and delivery of the product, marketing, support, and after-sales service. So you got design, research and development, creation, you got the whole production process, delivery of the products, you got marketing and sales, and you got after-sales service as well. That's important. Support activities, human resource management, IT, information systems would be 2 examples of support activities. They provide inputs that allow the primary activities to take place. They provide service, some managerial know-how, logistics, as it says there. A lot of the information in the beginning of the chapter on these slides is basically just there for our reading enjoyment. The role of strategy, basically find ways to lower costs or have a strategy that differentiates your products. So basically, as it says there, make things cheaper than the competition, make things good enough to be of interest to the consumers. So we're trying to add some value to that, at least perceived value. And we'll talk about more of those points on the next slides. But basically here, that, as it says there, firms that operate internationally are able to realize location economies, more on the next slide, realize greater cost economies, earn a greater return by leveraging some of those valuable skills you've learned in conducting business overseas, or in foreign operations. So let's first talk about location economies. This is information that based on your first assignment and your case report tasks, where you are tasked with trying to to determine the best location for expansion. So countries differ along a range of dimensions, including social, technological, economic, political, legal. So those are things that we talked about, as well as culture. These differences, as it says, can either raise or lower the cost of doing business in a country. So basically, that was the task for your first assignment and for your part of your case report, is deciding on the best location. Profiting. From global expansion based on location economies, trade barriers, transportation costs, permitting. The firm will benefit by basing each value creation activity it performs at that location where, as you've said from that first assignment, economic, political, cultural conditions are most conducive to the performance of that activity. And we've looked into some trade theories as well that help us understand where the best place to expand. So firms that pursue such a strategy like that realize what we've referred to as that location economy. The economies or savings that arise from performing a value creation activity in the optimal location for that activity. There are significant cost reductions when firms have a location economy, where, as it says, producing a product where there is a benefit based on economic, political, legal, cultural conditions. So, as I said, that was the task for your first assignment. Doing so allows you to create that global web. Transportation costs and trade barriers aside, different stages of the value chain are dispersed to those locations where you have that location economy around the globe, where that perceived value is maximized or where the cost of value creation are minimized. So you go where the perceived value is the best, and or where the cost of creating that product or service is minimized. Assuming, of course, that transportation costs and trade barriers are less than those benefits. So let's stop there. We'll continue on in the next video.